Welcome to another video from explainingcomputers.com. This time we're going to take a look at this, the M5Stack Cardputer. This contains an ESP32-S3 microcontroller along with a small keyboard, a screen, various other peripherals and interfaces and rechargeable batteries, all wrapped up in this tiny form factor. So let's go and take a closer look. Right, here we have our Cardputer, which sells for $29.90 from the M5Stack store, although I purchased this one for £28.70 from the Pi Hut here in the UK. So let's bring in Stanley the knife so we can cut through the seal. I just need to get Stanley through the edge like, oh, there we are, and that's got that open, and hopefully now the whole package will open. If I can do this. I can never get into anything, can I? But yes, we've got into our Cardputer. Let's get it out like this and get rid of the packaging entirely. There we are. And here it is, the Cardputer. And it's got dimensions of 84 by 54 by 19.7 millimeters. It weighs about 92.8 grams. And as we can see, it also comes with this little tool by the name of Allen the key. As noted earlier, at the heart of the device is an expressive ESP32-S3 microcontroller unit, which here is packaged in an M5Stack S3 module. This can be removed if required and features a 240 MHz Tensor LX7 dual-core processor coupled with 512 KB of RAM and 8 GB of SPI flash storage. Also included are a USB-C connector that can offer OTG functionality, 2.4 GHz 802.11b G&N Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5 low energy, and loads of GPIO connectivity, most of which is hooked up to the hardware included in the Cardputer. Talking of which, top left, we have an SPM 1423 MEMS microphone, which, like everything else here, is clearly labelled with the GPIO pins to which it's internally connected. Next to this, there's then our colour LCD screen. This is a 1.14 inch IPS with a resolution of 240 by 135 pixels. Down below, we then have our 56 key keyboard, which is pretty comprehensive. It's got the space key down here like this, which is in the same place it was on a ZX81. And clearly this is not a keyboard intended for mass text entry, but it should be very good for entering things like network credentials, usernames, passwords and that type of information. And the keys do have a nice little click to them. I think these keys are rather nice. I'm rather impressed with this small keyboard. Transitioning to the left edge, below the USB-C connector, we find a small grill, and this covers an 8-ohm 1-watt speaker, which is rather handy. And then around the corner, we discover a button linked to GP0, a power button, a microSD card slot, a reset button, and an infrared transmitter. Finally, rotating 90 for a second time, lurking in plain sight is a 4-pin Grove connector that provides access to 2 GPIO pins as well as 5-volt power and a ground connection. And as we can see, there is a switch here, and this allows us to select whether the 5-volt power pin is either an input or an output. And it's also worth noting that M5Stack sell loads of I2C sensors and other modules that can be plugged into this port. If we turn the Cardputer over, here we go, we discover a sticker with loads more hardware and connection information. Everything is very well documented on the device. And we also have under here nodules which are supposed to be Lego compatible. And I want you to try this out, but the only piece of Lego I could find around was this piece of Lego here. This is a small stormtrooper called Michael, but if we take his hat off like that, he should plug in to this nodule like that. There we are, and yes, it seems the nodules really are Lego compatible. Although for most people probably far more useful is the fact that under here we have 2 magnets, and this allows the Cardputer to attach to any ferrous metal surface. Finally, if we call on the surfaces of tiny Allen the key, we can remove the base. Here we go, and there we are. Let's just flick it that way round. We can now see the magnets and also the main battery, which is a 1400 milliamp hour. But this is not the only battery in the Cardputer, because there's another battery in the top. And we can get to that if we very carefully remove the top. And we have to do this carefully, not least because the M5 stamp here, the S3, this is actually attached by a ribbon cable to the LCD display. So we have to be a bit careful as we do this. But I've now taken this out. We've got our second battery here. This is just 120 milliamp hour, but certainly nice to have it. And in the top over here, we've still got the M5 stamp. If I just flick this over carefully, you'll see it's still attached to the LCD display by ribbon cable, but it's now actually a loose component. I wouldn't suggest taking all this apart unless you're doing something like making a video or have some other really good reason to take everything apart. So having said that, I'm now going to use the magic of filmmaking to put everything back together. There we go, our Cardputer is now once again intact, and I do think this is a very cool little device. It's one of those gadgets that feels cool even before you've turned it on. And I guess this is one of the reasons that the Cardputer already has a growing community of users and developers. Now, one of the great things about the Cardputer is that some sample software is pre-installed. So all we have to do to try this thing out is to turn it on, which we can do like that. There we are. We need to press a key. Let's press that key there. And we now get to this little menu, which we can work with the arrows down here to select between different sample programs. Let's go that way like that. There is a Wi-Fi scanner for scanning for Wi-Fi networks. There is a recording program. Let's press enter and try that. And everything I'm now saying is going into a buffer, and it'll record the last few seconds and play it back if I press the enter key. So let's have a little gap and try that. Greetings. Hello. Greetings. Hello. Yes, that seems to work. And I can go back from a program by pressing the button on the back of the machine like that. What else do we have? We have a little chat application for chatting between two of these devices. We have an IR remote application where we can use the IR transmitter to send signals to a television, things like that. Although sadly, only an NEC device, I haven't got one of those, but there is software available to use this as a universal remote control. There's a little terminal application. There's an application for setting Wi-Fi credentials. There is a timer, which obviously gives us the time. We become a clock or a watch like that. There is a keyboard program we'll come back to, a little notepad program. If I select that, it's looking for an SD card to save files on, so that doesn't currently function as we can see. And there's a program that actually writes hello on the screen like that, which is very exciting. But I think we'll just go back to that program for the keyboard over here. This is rather useful. Let's just press enter on that. And this turns the device into either a Bluetooth keyboard or we can become a USB keyboard like that. So let's just try this out like that. I've now got the Cardputer connected to a desktop PC. And so if I just press some of the keys on the keyboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we're typing on the desktop PC. We're using the Cardputer as a USB keyboard. Now, the Cardputer can be programmed using the Arduino Integrated Development Environment, which can be downloaded from this page and which looks like this. To use this IDE with the Cardputer, we first need to go to File and to Preferences, and then if we scroll down here, we can add an additional Board Manager URL like that. I've got that in the buffer, but I'll leave you this link in the video description. So we now just click on OK. And we now need to install both the board and its libraries. So let's first open up the Board Manager like that. And if we search for M5Stack, it comes up pretty easily. There we are. And we can just install that. There we go. And we'll now go down to Libraries, where we'll search for M5 Cardputer. There it is, look, and we'll click on Install. And we will install all to take all the relevant dependencies. And there we are, the board and its libraries have been installed, and we will collapse the side panel. Next, we're going to go across to our Cardputer, and we're going to press the button on the back like that. Keep it held in while I plug in this USB lead to connect it to the computer. And then back in the Arduino IDE, we're going to go to Tools and Board and M5Stack, and somewhere down here we'll find the Cardputer. There it is. And it's not connected right now, so we'll just click here and select Board and Port. Should be selected on a COM4, shouldn't it? We'll just do that, and there we are. The M5 Cardputer is now connected on COM4. And so what we're now going to do is to go to File and Examples, and we'll scroll all the way down, keep going loads of way. There we are, M5 Cardputer. And under Basic, we've got a few bits of sample code. Let's bring in, for example, button. There we are. And why the Arduino IDE insists on doing it in another window like that, I've got no idea, but we'll do that. And what this piece of code does is to basically set up the display, and then it prints on the screen button test, and then it's got a loop which basically checks to see if the button on the back of the Cardputer is pressed, and if it's pressed, it prints pressed, and if it isn't, it prints released. And just to prove we're in control, I'm going to change this text. I'm going to change that to Mr. and we'll change it down here to, guess what, scissors, like that. And then we'll go across to this button here and press it to compile and upload the program over to the Cardputer. And with this complete, if we go back across to the Cardputer, and I'm going to just press the reset button on the back, and hopefully, yes, it says button test on the screen. And if I press the button on the back, Mr. Scissors, Mr. Scissors, there's even a little beep, look. Okay, it isn't a very large beep, but clearly the code has come across and is working. So let's test another piece of code, and to allow this to happen, what I'm going to do is to hold down the button and then also press the reset button on the computer like that and release it, and release that. This will reconnect the device so it can communicate with the Arduino IDE. And back across here, we'll go back to File and Examples and all the way down to somewhere here. Get out of the way, Windows. There we are. Somewhere down here we have a M5 Cardputer. There it is, look. And we can see under Basic there are various sample programs for the keyboard, including the USB keyboard program we were trying out earlier. Good to see the code for that is here. But I think for now we'll click on Display, bring him in this little display sample bit of code. And what this does is to draw lots of random colourful shapes on the screen. So once again we'll send it across to the Cardputer. There we go. And if we again go back to the device and press reset on the back like that, oh look, we've got exciting colourful patterns on the screen. And if we disconnect the wire from the computer like that, the whole thing goes dead because it hasn't got any power. But if we turn it back on again, we just use the on-off button, which is just back there where we are. Can I flick it? Yes, there we are. Oh, it's come back to life, running its new colourful test code. Now, as I said earlier, there's already an enthusiastic community of Cardputer users, and they're creating all kinds of applications which can be uploaded to a device using a piece of software called M5Burner, available from M5Stack. If we just go down here, we find it somewhere down there. There it is. And this looks like this and contains all kinds of things. I'll just scroll down a little bit to give you a feel of all the sort of things available for the Cardputer. In particular, I want to go down to the universal remote control. I wouldn't mind trying that out. And it's also worth pointing out that here we have the M5 launcher for the Cardputer, which allows you to load programs from a microSD card or download software from a repro. So I thought we'd try installing this. I've got the Cardputer connected. It is unofficial firmware with the usual provisos that go around that, but we'll say continue, and we will start the process. There we go. And if we go across to the Cardputer and I flick it on like that, oh look, we're running M5 Launcher. It's an exciting little device, this, isn't it? I really like the retro feel of it. And if I just press the Enter key down there, we can connect to a network. And I'm just going to enter on that and enter again. By the magic of filmmaking, those details have been entered. It's now getting information from the repro, which should be the things we just saw, but let me just flick across to the Ultimate TV remote. There we are. We could have installed this directly as we installed the launcher, but I just wanted to try this out. In fact, there's even a web interface for this, which I haven't tried yet. It's all fantastic what the community is doing. Anyway, let's just press enter on this. There are some options here, but hopefully we can just go to enter. I think I'll just take default if that's all right. Oh, look, we can download to SD or we can install. It's jolly clever, isn't it? I think we'll just do an install for here, but obviously we could put lots of things on an SD card and keep coming back to them if we wanted to. But it's now installing our firmware. And there we are. We've now got the ultimate remote running on the Cardputer. So let's go and see if it works. And here we are in my living room, where in theory I can now use the remote to control, for example, the volume of my television. Yes, it works, doesn't it? Isn't that amazing? In theory, I can even turn the television off by pressing P like that. Yes, the universal remote clearly works. The Cardputer is an addictive little device with great potential for IoT and other projects that require a microcontroller hooked up to a keyboard and a screen and rechargeable batteries. But what would you use a Cardputer for? Please let us all know down in the comments section. But now that's it for another video. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, please press that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.